Claudio Giardiello opened fire inside a Milan courthouse 13 times, killing 3 people. Giardiello first opened fire in a bankruptcy courtroom, killing a lawyer and his co-defendant before entering Judge-Fernando Ciampi's chambers, where he shot him dead.
Of the courthouse shooting in Berrien County, 2 bailiffs and the shooter were killed in that attack.
Gordon was shot and killed, and the bailiffs begin realizing their friends have been killed.
Oh no! Let's go. Get him over. Get him over. Stay with us, buddy.
You see Angelau grabbing what was later identified as a pen and lunging at the witness testifying. Then shots fired by a U.S. Marshal, killing Angelau.
It's 12:40 p.m. Courtroom 56, Domestic Relations Court. A hearing underway involving Joseph Haynes, 16. A deputy in the courtroom was knocked to the ground. He fired a shot, a single shot, Minard says hit Haynes. The teenager rushed to the hospital, where investigators say he died.
Salutations, Serene Eminence here. It's a pleasure to proceed with our 3rd installment of the Courthouse Homicides series, involving a quartet of cases, leaving 1 judge, 1 attorney, 2 bailiffs, and 4 defendants deceased. The wine that shall accompany today's crime quartet is a 2020 Wolfson Cellars Sauvignon Blanc, a melodious marriage betwixt silky and zesty notes. It exists as an effervescent encapsulation of a scintillating seaside breeze in a bottle, with an explosion of vivacious vibrancy accompanying each and every superb sip. In accordance with content formatting for the Volatile Vocation Investigations channel, a criminal justice system and courtroom violence briefing was offered, while vocational volatility factors plus protective safety protocols were touched upon amid the previous episode. The preceding episode covered the case of Marianne Bachmeyer, respectively known as the Avenging Mother, of whom valiantly took justice into the palm of her very own hands by executing the executioner of her daughter within the courtroom quarters. The quartet of cases to be covered by the following installment includes: Number 1, Claudio Giardiello, a man on trial for fraudulent bankruptcy, of whom opened fire in the Palace of Justice, killing a judge, an attorney, and a co-defendant, all while seriously injuring 2 additional individuals. Number 2, Larry Darnell Gordon, an inmate desirous of escaping, of whom disarmed a deputy, shot and killed 2 bailiffs, as well as injured a sheriff's deputy, in addition to a civilian, all while being handcuffed. Number 3, Cial Angelau, a defendant on trial for a RICO charge, of whom was shot and killed by a U.S. Marshal in federal court, subsequent to his attempt at violently assaulting a witness with a pen. Number 4, Juvenile Joseph Haynes, of whom was fatally shot in the abdomen by a deputy in a courtroom during a domestic relations hearing, subsequent to an altercation involving the victim's family. And of course, the 4th and final installment shall inevitably be a surprise compilation as a commemorative way to conclude this unjust judiciary series. Vocational volatility factors have modestly been addressed throughout the series. Now let's proceed to thoroughly undress the methodology underlying protective protocols within the courtroom. Carnage within the courthouse experientially exposes the debilities of courthouse defense tactics. Judges and courthouse administrators should give serious consideration to securing external experts to conduct a comprehensive security assessment of their particular courthouses. The expertise and objectivity entailed in such an assessment may also provide those of whom must appropriate requisite funds a higher level of understanding and easement regarding the legitimacy of the assessed needs. Providing a safe and secure environment for for those of whom work in or visit a courthouse is a vital responsibility of judges and court administrators. Given the rise in violent court incidents, the constant threat of future incidences, and based on funding constraints, providing a comprehensively secure environment does indeed exist as a daunting challenge. However, with an evidence-based approach, improved intercommunication, and access to funding, this problem can be addressed in a calculated manner that will further serve to, at the very least, minimize the innumerable risks inherent in courthouse operations. Prior to officially proceeding with comprehensive case coverage, I would like to extend my sincerest condolences to the families and all individuals impacted by the loss of these precious lives that I should be extensively discussing. May the unique legacies of all individuals mentioned via this video live on through the contents of this compilation and evermore exist within the hearts and memories of those of whom cared for them most. Disclaimer: viewer discretion is advised. Sensitive topics such as graphic depictions of violence via firearm shall be discussed moving forward. Please cease your viewership if you are uncomfortable to any degree with the aforementioned mature matters. Now let's proceed to peel back the lethal layers of this homicidal courthouse quartet. Whilst on trial for fraudulent bankruptcy, Giardiello murdered 3 people, including his lawyer, his co-defendant, and an appellate court judge during a shooting spree at the Palazzo di Giustizia in Milan, Italy. Milan is a city in northern Italy, the capital of Lombardy and the second most populous city proper in Italy after Rome. The city's metropolitan area has around a total of 3.26 million inhabitants. Milan is a global center of tourism, receiving millions of visitors every year, a flurry of sightseers flocking to see its cultural attractions, such as museums and art galleries that include some of the most important collections in the world, specifically the major works of polymath, theorist, engineer, and draughtsman Leonardo da Vinci. Respective to the precise coordinates, the Palazzo di Giustizia, or the Palace of Justice, is located in the heart of Milan, only a few kilometers away from one of the largest Catholic cathedrals in the world, that of Duomo di Milano, an iconic masterpiece that took over 600 years to complete. In direct relation to the date, this felonious offense fell on National Prisoner of War Recognition Day, which is that of Thursday, April 9, 2015, wherein, at approximately 11 a.m., Giardiello fired a total of 13 shots amidst 4 minutes in the courthouse, moving from a courtroom to the hallway and finally the judge's chambers downstairs. When speaking of the circumstances surrounding the apprehension of the offender, the shooter somehow evaded metal detectors at the main entrances to the courthouse and moved freely throughout the upper floors of the building for an hour, barricading himself in a room before making his escape, even as police circled the courthouse. The perpetrator absconded on a motorbike. Surveillance cameras registered Giardiello's motorbike license plate as he fled, enabling police to identify him as well as his address and pass this information to squads around the area. The suspect was arrested an hour after escape by Carabinieri officers in Vimercat, and a shopping center about 25 kilometers northeast of central Milan, near the town of Monza. Interior Minister Angelino Alfano said the presumed assassin had been taken to military police barracks in the Milan area. Please note that charges and sentencing were not officially disclosed nor documented. In communing with safety concerns regarding the incident, Premier Matteo Renzi promised a robust investigation into how the gunman, Claudio Giardiello, managed to conceal and carry a pistol into the fascist-era fortress-like tribunal. The chief federal prosecutor in Milan told reporters it appeared Giardiello may have used a fake document to enter through the only pedestrian entrance not equipped with a metal detector and intended only for use by accredited court officials. The courthouse has metal detectors at the 4 main entrances, but lawyers and courthouse employees with official IDs are regularly waved through without the additional security screen. Employees who trickled out after the shooting suggested that the gunman could easily have gained entrance without passing through the metal detector by entering with his lawyer. The Deputy Interior Minister said an investigation would determine who was to blame for any security lapse. There's no doubt that this episode signals a non-functioning of the protection mechanisms. This is not the first time this has happened, but obviously it must be the last. The government has given a powerful mandate to expose these systematic failings, which evidently happened. In unveiling more information regarding the perpetrator and his causal motive, the gunman was of course identified as Claudio Giardiello, and he was approximately 57 years of age at the time of the courthouse shooting. Giardiello was described as aggressive and paranoid by his former lawyer. He was reportedly a real estate developer, of whom was on trial with two others named as Giorgio Erba and David Limongelli for fraudulent bankruptcy concerning the collapse of their real estate property and telecom venture in relation to his business, Magenta Real Estate. Prosecutors said Giardiello was armed with a pistol and planned to kill another business partner whom he blamed for his failed real estate venture. Giardiello pulled out the gun inside a third-floor bankruptcy courtroom after arguing with his lawyer, who had quit his mandate and was about to address the court. In reverence to the victims, among the three dead at Milan's Palace of Justice were that of appellate court judge Fernando Ciampi, lawyer Lorenzo Alberto Clarice Ampiani, and co-defendant Giorgio Erba. Two additional individuals were injured, including a second co-defendant, David Limongelli, of whom was gravely injured and treated for serious injuries. Lastly, an unnamed business consultant was shot in the leg whilst Giardiello traversed through the hallway. Appellate Court Judge Fernando Ciampi was one of the last to be fired upon. It wasn't clear if there was a relationship between Giardiello and the judge who worked in the civil section of the bankruptcy court. Lawyer Lorenzo Alberto Clarice Ampiani, one of the first to be fired upon, was a former lawyer for Mr. Giardiello, who was acting as a witness in the case. Co-defendant Giorgio Erba, one of the second to be fired upon, died after arriving to the hospital. Co-defendant David Limongelli, of course, survived and was treated for serious injuries. The familial relationship betwixt co-defendants Giorgio Erba and David Limongelli and Giardiello is unclear, but the two co-defendants were uncle and nephew, respectively. In divulging deeper detail regarding the incident in question and respective timeline, Giardiello pulled out his pistol after an argument sparked with his lawyer, who had quit his mandate and was about to address the court regarding the quit. He shot the lawyer and two co-defendants before descending the stairs, where he ran into a business consultant, subsequently shooting him in the leg. He continued to Judge Fernando Ciampi's office, shooting him twice. The judge and the lawyer died at the scene, while one of the co-defendants died later, while being treated at the hospital. As the shots rang out, court employees barricaded themselves inside their offices and took cover under their desks, while police hunted for the gunman, who, according to video surveillance cameras, fled out the same entrance he used to enter the building. After absconding from the Palace of Justice, the gunman fled and was tracked via his motorbike. Once apprehended, it was purported that he had 2 spare cartridges, and the pistol was loaded, implying that he had intended, or at the very least, was prepared to gravely wound or murder many others. Whilst on trial for multitudinous charges that were collectively equated with a possible life sentence, Larry Darnell Gordon disarmed and shot a sheriff's deputy while being handcuffed in the holding cell nearest courtroom 315. Hands and wrists still restrained by cuffs, he then proceeded to ruthlessly murder 2 upstanding bailiffs amidst his pursuit to escape the Berrien County Courthouse.
Now, shooter is down. We're doing CPR on the shooter and the CPR on the officer down.
Moments later, 2 court bailiffs at the Berrien County Courthouse are dead.
Berrien County is located in the southwestern district of St. Joseph, Michigan. St. Joseph, nicknamed the Riviera of the Midwest, is situated on the shore of Lake Michigan at the mouth of the St. Joseph River. With a city population of 7,856, it is a fairly quaint coastal lakeside community. In relation to the date and time, nearly a week after Independence Day on Monday, July 11, 2016, Larry Darnell Gordon sought his very own sense of liberation, yet traversed along on an escape route that ultimately led to the irretrievable loss of his life instead. At approximately 2:19 p.m., the initial shot from the stolen sheriff deputy's revolver rang out, and over 20 shots and 10 minutes later, the unsuspecting slaying met its saddening conclusion. In connection with the charges, unable to be indicted for the calamity that he caused due to his resulting demise, we shall simply review the charges that Larry Gordon was on trial for on that treacherously tragic day. Amid the preceding months, Gordon was charged with the following: 5 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 3 counts of production of child sexually abusive material, 2 counts of assault by strangulation, and single counts of kidnapping, possession with intent to deliver methamphetamine, and third-degree criminal sexual conduct. According to police, these charges were filed after it was discovered that Gordon had entered into a year-long sexual relationship with a 16-year-old female in October 2015. He started making pornographic videos of her and locked her in a shed on one occasion. He faced possible life sentences for these charges. Police actually discovered the teenage girl inside of a shed on Gordon's property, along with drugs, related paraphernalia, weapons, and other items. In the spirit of momentously moving forward, Gordon's singular motive was simply to escape imprisonment and, moreover, to evade the mandate of a life sentence.
Police say the inmate left behind a pair of notes apologizing for what he was about to do.
Investigators found the letters in Larry Gordon's jail cell after he opened fire inside the Berrien County Courthouse last week. One letter was to his ex-wife. The other appeared to be to his daughter.
The letter to his daughter stated verbatim, "I'm not trying to die, and I don't want to. I'm just trying to get free, and I'll die trying." Further stating that getting free would be the only chance he would have to see her again. He also mentioned how intelligent that she was, and that he would evermore watch over her. The letter to his ex-wife had the word sorry written 20 times over within the margins and stated verbatim, "I'm not trying to take my life. I'm just trying to get free. Living on the run is better than doing next to 15 years. He then stated, "I'll be in hiding, babe. And if you ever have a problem, just post it on Facebook. I'll come take care of it like Superman." Lastly, he extended apologies for the less than savory manner for which he treated and handled her in the past.
His ex-wife, who said that she has children with him, said she was devastated by what happened. She believes that he was simply trying to get away so that he would be able to get back to his family. She says she does not believe that he would have intentionally gone after killing people in the way that he is now accused of doing. I want to give you a quote here from her. She said, "He was an amazing man that got mixed up with the wrong people." She said he loved his children and me and his mother and sister with everything that he had. Our wedding anniversary would have been tomorrow. She's still his best friend and says that she still loves him very much. She said that deputies and a chaplain came to her home to let her know that he was indeed the person who was responsible for the shooting at the courthouse.
When speaking of the victims involved in this harrowing happening.
Tonight we know that gunman shot 4 people, killing 2 of them. They were bailiffs. One has been identified as 61-year-old Joseph Zangaro. He was the head of courthouse security. The other is 63-year-old Ronald Kinzel. He's been with the court since 2005.
And the deputy who was shot is 41-year-old James Atterbury Jr. He's in the ICU. A woman was also shot, but her identity is not being revealed.
Yeah, it does not seem real tonight for friends and family after learning who those 2 bailiffs were who were killed this afternoon. We've talked with friends and colleagues who say that they were both 2 men who you could count on, a 61-year-old Joseph Zangaro and 63-year-old Ronald Kinzel. We're told were very dedicated, and they had long years of service in the police force before they joined the court system. Zangaro was the head of the courthouse security and had been with Berrien County Trial Court since May 2004. He retired as the commander of the Michigan State Police Brigman Post. Kenzel worked for the Berrien County Trial Court since April 2005. And before that, he worked as a sergeant for the Benton Charter Township Police Department after serving in the U.S. Army. And we did speak with retired Benton Township Police Officer Kim Fowler, who worked with both of them. He says that they were the two type of officers that you would want if you had an issue. And after retiring, they still wanted to serve their community, which is why they stayed serving the public in the criminal justice system.
This thing hit home. I mean, that's my nephew.
41-year-old Deputy James Atterbury was shot 3 times.
And he's a great guy. I known him since he was a baby.
He is expected to recover and remains in intensive care.
I'm thanking God that he's still alive. And I'm just so sorry for the victims.
His family says Atterbury had worked nights at the Barron County Jail for 13 years. Today was his first day working at the courthouse.
He worked in the jail for about 13 years, never had an incident. And to be working at the courthouse, I even thought that was safer.
That he was shot in the hand and the arm, and he was in surgery this evening. His father, James Sr., the bishop of that church. I did speak with his uncle tonight, who says that his nephew is a great father and husband and is dedicated to serving his community, and he couldn't believe it when he got the call about what happened.
God, even in the midst of this tragedy, he spared my nephew, and I thank God for that. I mean, it could have been way worse than what it is.
It was supposed to be just another Monday, like any other Monday in Benton Harbor.
I gotta go to work. That was the only thing that was on my mind. My daughter called me that morning. She had to go to court.
She'd end up in this courtroom looking at this man.
My daughter's looking at me and I'm looking at her. I'm like, just don't look at him.
Once removed, inmate Larry Gordon would get a hold of a deputy's gun. That's when the unthinkable happened.
But once we hear the gunshots, we get down on the ground. So now we're down on the ground and we're trying to get up under the benches, and then we hear no more gunfire. Everything was just going so fast.
She, her daughter, and others who had been hiding then decided to make a run for it. They took to the hallway, but so did an armed Gordon, who had just killed 2 deputies, Ron Kenzel and Joe Zangaro, and now was headed in Kenya's direction.
So then he turns to my 19-year-old daughter. She was 19 at the time. And he says, you know, will you come? And I'm like, no, she's only 19 years old. She hasn't lived life, you know. He was like, will you come then? So I'm like, okay. When you're a mother, the last thing you want to do is see your child in danger. It's like a real statement when they say, I give my life for you.
With one gun in her back and several others pointed at the criminal holding her hostage, Kenya would become a casualty in the crossfire.
I didn't even pay attention to the fact that I had been shot until I just all of a sudden felt the pain that I have never felt before, and it was like burning, and I'm just like, okay, what is this? And then I felt the warm blood, and I'm just like, okay, I'm shot. So now I need to know where I'm shot at.
Kenya and her daughter were ushered back in the courtroom, and now it was her daughter's turn to help her brave mother.
That day we were a support team. I had 68 staples in my arm. I've had several, 6 to 7 surgeries, anywhere from an hour and a half, 2 hours and a half, 3-hour surgeries. I've had my arm manipulated several times.
Over a year later, the physical scars are the least of her worries.
As strong as I might think I am, I have bad days. I have real bad days. I have some days where I don't want to go outside, where I want to deal with the world. I want to just, you know what I'm saying, I would rather just be off to myself.
In contending with the crime incident and timeline, the security surveillance from the 3rd floor courtroom and lobby area does not show the shootings, but offers frightening audio of the intense moments inside the Michigan courthouse.
Where investigators have just released this chilling video from last week's Berrien County Courthouse shooting. It captures the moments when an inmate took a deputy's gun and then opened fire, killing 2 bailiffs. Nick Monticelli has been one of the first to see this video, and Nick, investigators say that this inmate was either going to escape or die trying.
Rhonda, in fact, he took hostages trying to do that, making them try to break through glass partitions to help him escape. When that did not work, he used a female hostage as a human shield and made the others follow behind as they crossed the hall in front of the bailiffs. Now, we do want to warn you, the video you are about to see is hard to watch.
This incident occurred very quickly. It was violent, and it may be disturbing to some people that view and hear what I'm going to present today.
The lead detective on the case makes it very clear everything in this video is hard to watch and even harder to listen to.
In this corner, you see Bailiff Ron Kinzel.
It begins at precisely 2:19 p.m. on July 11th. Inmate Larry Gordon was in court, but the court was not ready for his case yet, so he was being brought back to a holding cell inside of the courthouse. That's when the fight begins, as Gordon takes Deputy James Atterbury's gun.
Here's the fight.
In that video, you heard no, 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 don't shoot. But then, more gunshots. Now, people are running out of the courtroom, which you can see on the cameras in the hallways. As more bailiffs come running, one of them actually runs into Larry Gordon, but he was afraid to fire, concerned about the other citizens there.
The bailiff explains he considered firing at Larry Gordon as he fled with the handgun, but was concerned about his backstop.
Gordon has now taken hostages, using a female as a human shield. That only lasts seconds, though, as Gordon becomes trapped and is shot dead by the bailiffs. Now, the hostages that were in the courtroom Gordon was in, when they ran out, they turned left and into a dead end, and they were hiding there, and that is when Gordon caught up to them. We're live in the newsroom. Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
Oh, Nick, what a terrifying ordeal, and such a sad one because of the outcome and those two bailiffs losing their lives.
The sheriff told us this morning that the inmate's hands were cuffed at the time of the incident, but cuffed in front of him, allowing him to grab the deputy's firearm. Up to that point, the sheriff says, there were no signs that a jailbreak was being planned.
Now, court deputies here in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb County, they wear their guns in what's called a retention holder. That requires two specific moves to release the weapon from the holster. I'm told it takes quite a bit of training to learn how to get the weapon out of the holster. We do not know at this hour if deputies in Berrien County wear retention holsters.